Hey there, YouTube. It is 3:30 on the dot. I was so excited to log on at this exact moment to be able to say that. Oh, now it's 3:31. I just got it. Okay. Whew. Sorry, my wig is a little messy. I took my braids out. I'd had this wig and braids for the past few days. And I took the braids out last night, but then I put it up and now it's just kind of back to being pretty messy. Well, I mean, even in the braids it was messy, just but kind of like trying to figure out what to do with this right now. Oh, all right. It's so hard for me to sit still. Today is the second day of March. It's also the first Monday of March for 2026. I just got to the club. It's nice and sunny out today. We are supposed to get snow tomorrow, so I'm trying to enjoy this sun for here today. I feel like this is the kind of day I feel like I might see a squirrel. So I'm kind of like trying to keep my eyes peeled. I haven't seen one yet, but I did just get here to the club parking lot. I haven't signed in yet. I have just under half an hour before I have to go sign in. I am gonna try to keep this video on the shorter side today, but yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say today. There's still a lot that I could say that I've had pending in my notes that go way back, like notes that I've had for a while, like for a very long time now. I just don't feel quite up to getting into those today because honestly, I want to try to go through them a little bit more, or I really haven't gone through most of them for a while. So I'd like to try to organize them a little bit better as best I can. Maybe rewrite some of them. Just look through them at least, you know, just try to get more of a grasp of how to try to work with them, because most of what I have pending now is just a complete mess, just scattered throughout so many different pages. And I don't really have any notes with me for this video from last night, from my shift last night. These notes that I have here, these are the same notes that I've had for a few days, between a few days and like maybe a week or two. These are the same notes that I had with me yesterday, and there's still a few things that I haven't mentioned that I wanted to mention in my video yesterday that I didn't really get around to. But as far as last night, my shift last night, there was literally one thing that I wrote down. I can't even find it on these papers. I did just see it a minute ago though. I'm trying to find it now. Oh, okay, it's right towards the bottom of this paper. I literally wrote down one thing from my shift yesterday. So that was that I did manage to climb the pole with my backpack. For anyone that is not familiar with my backpack, it is very, very heavy. Very much so. I think it's probably about between 13 and 15 pounds. And the pole here at the club that I work at is about 13 to 15 feet. I have measured the pole before. Um, so I don't manage to climb the pole with my backpack as much now as I used to. Back when I used to do more day shifts, maybe like last year, mostly, it was more of a thing that I did last year. To start the shift off for a lot of my day shifts, because it was like, you know, the very start of the shift, not only the start of the shift, but also just the start of the entire, not just the start of the shift for me, but the start of the entire shift for the club. Being a day shift, we had just opened like at the club, you know? So a lot of those times, being that we had just opened at the club, there really wouldn't be any customers for a while for the first part of the day shifts that I was doing. So when there'd be no customers here yet, I would make a point when I first got on the stage to try to climb the pole with my backpack. And also when I do that, I have a damp paper towel in my hand. So because we clean the pole here with rubbing alcohol, most of the dancers clean the pole with these kind of like little rags. They're kind of like the size of a hand towel, maybe like between a face cloth and a hand towel type size. So I just don't really like those. They're a little big for me, and I don't know, I just don't like the fabric. I feel like the fabric is too like fluffy and just dusty for me to try to do that with. I don't know, I'm just weird. Anybody that's watched me on here before would know that by now. But so what I do, I get a regular like paper towel and I dampen it with rubbing alcohol, and I fold it up kind of small to kind of like try to hide in the palm of my hand, or like cover with my hand as best I can. And I will climb the pole with that. And as I'm climbing the pole, I will be cleaning the pole with that paper towel. So a lot of people, because I do try to fold the paper towel up pretty small, a lot of people seeing me climb the pole like that might not notice that I have a damp paper towel in my hand, because my hand does usually cover most of that paper towel. I'll fold it up like that. Every now and then though, if somebody's really paying attention and watching me closely while I do that, they might notice that as I'm climbing the pole like that, I do kind of pause at certain intervals on my way up to the top, where I'll kind of pause and perch and just hold myself steady there and wipe down the pole, like trying to get all of the different sides of it, like the perimeter, or, you know, not just one side, but I'll try to get like all of the sides and like really clean it off pretty well. So, and at that point, people might be able to see like a corner or a little piece of the paper towel when I'm doing that. And they might be like, oh, like she has a wet paper towel in her hand as well. Anyways, so that was mostly what I used to do. Well, I almost always start off my set on stage climbing the pole with a paper towel like that, a wet paper towel, to try to clean the pole. I don't always do that, but I usually do. Whereas with me doing that with my backpack, my really big heavy backpack on my back, the backpack edition used to be mostly a day shift thing, you know, because I don't do that. I try not to do that when there's customers here, or like when there's like actually people here. So for a while, I used to do mostly day shifts last year and just at certain times beforehand. Whereas for a while now, for quite a few months now, I've been doing a lot of mostly night shifts, coming in kind of towards the later afternoon, like right around now, and staying for the rest of the night. So yeah, usually getting in around 4 in the afternoon. Night shift here at this club starts around 7 p.m. So I'll usually get around, depending on how long my videos are, because I do usually try to do a video on here before I really start my shift. So with that, for the day shift, I'll usually get between like 2 and 3 hours of the day shift until the night shift starts. And then I'll just usually stay for the rest of the night shift until closing time. So it's mostly the night shifts that I've been doing for a while, with just a little bit of day shift. So with me coming in towards the end of the day shift after the club's already been open for some time, I really don't bother to try to climb the pole with my backpack as much. But I did manage to do that yesterday. So yesterday was Sunday, and Sunday we actually opened later than all the rest of the days of the week. So because we opened at 4 on Sunday, and that's the time that I usually come in, normally me coming in at 4, the day shift would have already been going for a while. Whereas on Sunday, that's the time that we open. So when I got here around 4 yesterday, we were just opening, and for a little while there was really nobody here. So I was like, all right, let me just try to climb the pole. And so I did do a day shift last Friday, which is when I would normally try to climb the pole with my backpack, like when we're just opening and nobody's really here yet. So this past Friday, since I was doing a day shift and I got here open that time, I did think to myself that I could have tried to climb the pole with my backpack that time, but I had just gone to the gym and done 7 miles on the treadmill. So this past Friday, I really wasn't feeling up to that, you know, going on the pole with my backpack. It had been a little while since I'd done that because, again, I don't really do that as often these days, doing mostly the night shifts for a while. But yesterday I actually also did go to the gym before my shift, and I did kind of the same thing. I got the 7 miles. So coming into my shift here at the club yesterday, since I did go to the gym again and get the 7 miles again before my shift, I didn't think that I was going to feel up to, you know, anything too crazy for that shift. But, you know, when I got here at open after the gym, I just thought, well, why not? Why not just try it? I just wanted to do it, you know what I mean? Just to see, just to try it. And I did do it. I did it with, you know, the wet paper towel in my hand, climbing the pole to clean the pole like that. And yeah, I was pretty happy about that. I did all right with it. The pole hasn't been as, I don't want to jinx it, but it hasn't been as terribly slippery lately. I think because they recently switched back to 70% rubbing alcohol. For quite a while, they had been at 91%, which I've always found that for some reason, the 91% rubbing alcohol actually makes the pole more slippery, whereas the 70% rubbing alcohol usually does not seem to have that effect. Usually the 70% seems to clean the pole better, in my opinion, and just make it, just give it a better grip. So they've gone back, thank gosh, to the 70% pretty recently, and I definitely notice a difference, like a huge, huge difference. So I'm really happy about that. So that was a big thing for my shift yesterday. Oh, and the dressing room. I was saying lately how where my locker is, the dressing room that I'm in, it's the only dressing room that does not have an electrical outlet to plug in a space heater or to plug in anything because there's no outlets in there. So that dressing room is usually freezing cold. And I was really anxious going in. I'm always anxious, like coming into a shift, like with that, you know, especially. And a lot of times I will try to just avoid that dressing room, which is really difficult because that is where my locker is. So me trying to not go in there when I have stuff that I want to put in there in my locker, it's kind of, it can be difficult with that. But last night it was actually pretty warm in there. It wasn't like it cold like it, or freezing like it usually has been lately. It was actually pretty nice in there. It was one of those rare times where it felt kind of warm and nice in there. Not warm, but just much better. Not freezing cold, so I was able to put some stuff in my locker. I did end up wearing 4 different pairs of shoes throughout my shift yesterday and last night. I did stay till closing time, so that's a 10-hour shift for me, typically. I started off in my 8-inch snowflake shoes, which I've shown here on my channel pretty recently. So yeah, 8 inches these days. I usually don't wear 8-inch heels anymore. It's just, I just don't feel steady enough in them. But here and there, I'll still try to get a little bit of practice in when I feel, I don't know, it's not about really feeling up to it because honestly, I never really feel up to it, but if I think it's going to be a slower shift, or I'll try to maybe do it for brief intervals, like brief little periods, not entire shifts or anything. I learned the hard way pretty recently, like a month or two back, not to wear them for the entire shift or try to do that anymore, because I don't know, maybe like a month or two ago, I had been wearing a pair of 8-inch heels for like the entire shift, and I almost took them off like with 20 minutes left in the night, but I didn't. And as I was going down the stairs, I pretty much fell down the stairs. Very, very last tail end 20 minutes of the night, of the whole night. So ever since then, I've been like, yeah, at least try to learn a lesson from that, you know? So the 8-inch snowflake shoes that I was wearing last night or yesterday, I just kind of wore them for maybe the first hour of the shift. Not for very long, but I did wear them. You know, I did start off my shift in those. And then shortly after that, I was very ready to take them off and switch my shoes. So I went down into the 7-inch clear plastic slides and wore those. And then after a little while, oh my gosh. So the lights that were on the stage for a while for me were what I call the cellulite lights, which I just, the way that they were for a lot of the first half of that shift, or the kind of towards the start of the shift for me yesterday, it's like, usually it's certain color lights. Like I've noticed the red or the green tend to be really bad with that, where they're just so unflattering for someone like me that unfortunately does have apparently a lot of cellulite. I don't really notice that much cellulite on my body when I look in my, when I do dare to look at myself in a mirror in just regular lighting. Like if I were to look in a regular mirror right now, I might notice a little bit, but not a whole lot really. Whereas there's something about those lights where I just noticed stuff that I would have never noticed otherwise. Like, I don't know why. I don't know what it is about those lights, but there's just something about them that is extremely, extremely unflattering for me. And I have noticed for other dancers as well. But mostly for me, it feels like. It's just, I can't stand those lights. I already struggle with stuff like low self-esteem and just like kind of being really hard on myself. But with those lights, I feel worse about myself than I ever could have imagined feeling about myself. And it really does suck that they use lights like that on stage. It's almost like they do it on purpose to try to like take us down a peg, because society does tend to do that for women, it seems like, especially. But yeah, they're very distracting for me. And the way that they were yesterday and how they've been lately, these lights are new lights that were just installed. I mean, they've always had like those cellulite lights here at the club, but different variations of them, like different styles. So they did put in new lights recently, and the lights that were going for a lot of the start of my shift yesterday, those red lights that really seem to highlight any kind of cellulite or imperfection to that extreme level, they weren't just in one spot. They were moving all around the stage. So it was one of those things where no matter where I tried to position myself on the stage, they were always coming at me. Like there was nowhere on the stage that I could try to move to where I was going to be able to not be in those lights. They were just, yeah, they were moving all around the stage. So it's almost like I was trying to like dance really fast to try to like run away from them. Like, all right, they're coming this way, I better go that way. They're coming this way now, I better go that way. So a lot of times I do dance around the stage very, very quickly like that. It's actually one of my favorite ways to dance, like trying to utilize the entire stage floor and just dance around very quickly and very fast like that. But going into my shift yesterday, I had, again, already done 7 miles on the treadmill at the gym, and I was extremely, extremely sore. I'm just coming off of my period as well. So, you know, and yeah, usually towards the start of my shifts, I'll try to get in some stretching, you know, kind of try to like ease into the shift a little bit, especially before the actual night shift starts. So, but I really didn't feel able to do that yesterday because of those lights. Like, I was just trying to get away from the lights. Like, they're so unflattering, and I just feel so ashamed about how I look and how I feel about myself when I'm in those lights. So, but also, because I was wearing my snowflake shoes, and then the second pair of shoes that I switched into after those, they were clear plastic slides, so they're not the kind of shoes that I can wear socks with. So normally in the wintertime, I've been wearing these thigh-high socks that kind of like come up pretty high on my legs. So wearing those socks, it does tend to cover a lot of like my cellulite and my legs, obviously, because they're high socks. But because the two pairs of shoes that I was wearing towards the start of my shift yesterday, because the style of shoes that they are, I really can't wear socks with them. So I wasn't wearing my socks with them, and my legs were showing in those lights. And so at first I went down into the 7-inch clear plastic slides, which the clear plastic slides, whether they're 8-inch or 7, those are my favorite style of shoes to wear. I really just wear the kind of like ankle boots that I wear the other times, mostly in the winter, but also when the pole is especially slippery, I will tend to try to wear the ankle boots because the patent leather material that they're made of will usually provide a better grip to try to climb the pole with that. So anyways, after realizing how bad the lights really were and I just couldn't seem to get away from them on the stage, eventually I went back to my locker, because it was, not as freezing up there yesterday for that shift. So I went to my locker and I put my socks back on, rolled them all the way up as high as they would go on my legs to try to cover my legs as much as I could. And I was like yanking my dress down towards the tops of my socks to just try to cover as much of my body as I could. And so then I switched into my third pair of shoes for the night, and those were, the patent leather little ankle boots that tend to give a better grip for the pole. They do really hurt my toes, like, because they're closed-toed boots, so the front of my feet will kind of like push into them a lot. But anyway, so that was my third pair of shoes for the night. Then towards the end of the night, it was extremely, especially cold last night, yet again. So towards the end of the night, I was just trying to get myself ready, like, to run out the door at the end of the shift as best I could. Like, I was trying to get all my like winter stuff together. And so towards the end of the night, I switched into the fourth pair of shoes, which those are ankle boots, but they're open-toed, and they're also open in the back for the ankle, like for the heel of my feet. And those ones, the left one, the zipper is completely broken to where it doesn't zip up. So I pretty much have to wrap, I have these stretchy bands here. I think they're supposed to be like hair bands. So I wrap those around the ankle of the shoe to try to like secure that shoe onto my foot and ankle area as best I can, because again, they don't zip up, the zipper is broken. I actually have similar hair bands to that are like flesh colored, that I will sometimes have to wrap around my head and my wigs when I go upside down on the pole, sometimes, to try to like not have my wigs fall off of my head on stage. Anyways, so at first I was really upset with those lights, and I felt very held back with them. I just don't like them. I really hate those lights, to be honest. And it kind of sucks because my favorite manager here is the one that like I think picked them out and installed them. So I don't know, it's just kind of weird. But because normally when he does the lights and the music when I'm on stage, it's like awesome and just seems to activate this whole other level of my dancing style and capability. And I mean, I was specifically doing, when I was doing day shifts last year and the years before that for a while, I was specifically coming in for those day shifts because he was the manager on those shifts. And I was specifically doing those day shifts just to do like shifts with him because normally, again, I love how he does the lights and the music in the booth. But so at first, for a lot of the first part of that shift yesterday, I was kind of like iffy and just like, oh, like, you know, excuse me. But then he did end up changing the lights after a little bit of that. And when he changed the lights, it was much, much better. And I was able to get back into the zone that I like to get in, not back into it, but because I hadn't really been in that zone during that shift yet, but I was able to get into that zone shortly after he changed the lights. And once I got into that zone, I'm so happy when I'm able to get into that zone. It's just a whole other level. It's a whole other world for me to be in. And when I'm in that zone, sometimes I feel scared about it, like really apprehensive. And like, I feel like I don't want to push myself too hard. I don't want to like learn lessons the hard way again, like obviously slip or fall or get injured or that kind of thing. I can feel the risk that I'm taking. I can feel the difficulty level turned up a lot. There's also other times when I'm in that zone where I'm not really as worried about it and I feel almost unstoppable. Like I feel different. I feel almost like a robot or a machine, or like, but in a good way, you know, like just not like invincible or unstoppable, but almost like it's just different. And I was getting into that feeling with that at that time after the lights had been changed and I was in that zone for a while. Because there's sometimes where it's like I'm almost just waiting for my turn on stage to be like, usually I'm doing extra times on stage covering for other dancers, like trying to get in as much stage time as I can. But with that, the times that I'm kind of holding my breath, feeling how much of a risk I'm taking, sometimes I'll be kind of like waiting for that to end just so I can like relax a little and breathe a sigh of relief. Like, okay, I didn't get hurt, so now I can just get off stage and just be like, okay. Other times it's like I don't want it to end and I just want to keep going. Because yeah, those times when I'm not as worried about the risk or getting hurt and I just feel almost kind of unstoppable, feeling unstoppable like that, I really don't want to stop. I just want to keep dancing. So that's pretty much how it was at that point. Once I had been in that zone for a little while like that last night. Sorry, I have to take a quick break and go sign into the club real quick. So I'll be right back. It is so nice and refreshing outside. It's like a York peppermint patty just all throughout the air. It is just invigorating and I feel so alive and just wonderful as usual. Okay, I don't know why I'm looking at my notes because again, I really don't have anything from last night on my notes. What was I? Oh, okay, so another thing that I wanted to mention from my shift last night. There is one thing from these notes that I think was, well, that I know is supposed to be from like days and days ago that I do probably want to try to get into for this video. But real quick, back to my shift yesterday and last night. So I've mentioned a lot lately that for quite a while, I've had this big issue with this smoke stuff that they use at the club. And it used to be more of an issue years ago when I was working with a couple DJs that were kind of abusing that situation. I'm allergic to that smoke stuff, or I don't know. I definitely was. You know, I would get things like rashes and nosebleeds and possibly hair loss, although I guess the hair loss could have been caused from other things maybe. I'm not really too sure with that. But just like congestion, you know, like my nose would drip sometimes, like I'd find it hard to breathe. I'd also get really anxious and kind of panicked just psychologically from knowing how sick it would make me feel, and also because I do have kind of a sort of PTSD trauma response to it, because I did almost die in a smoky room back when I was a teenager. So there's like a bunch of reasons to why I've had such an issue with that smoke stuff here at the club. Yeah, it used to be more of an issue years ago, whereas these days it's still an issue, but not quite as much. Mostly because, yeah, up until just the past couple of weeks, they weren't really using that smoke stuff on the slower night shifts that I was doing. It seemed like it was more of a thing for like Friday and Saturday night, maybe Thursday. So I was pretty much kind of purposely avoiding those shifts largely for that reason, with other reasons too. But mostly for that reason, you know. And yeah, every now and then it would be used on the slower nights that I've been doing for a while, but usually it wasn't. So up until recently, the past couple weeks, it has been used on a lot of the slower nights that I've been doing. And I kind of have tried my best to deal with that in various, you know, like different ways. At first, I would maybe like ask, well, if my favorite manager was on shift, which a lot of times he was, because a lot of times he was actually the one to put it on, go figure. I think he's also the one that like installed it. So that's another like kind of conflicting, kind of psychologically difficult thing for me to try to like understand and work through as best I can. I don't know. But so if my favorite manager was on shift, sometimes I would ask him to pause it or shut it off, and he would. I mean, he was, you know, pretty good about that and pretty nice about it. But then if it was a different manager or if it was the DJ, I would pretty much just kind of ask them to pause it while I was on stage, and they kind of would, but then they would still like put it back on while I was on stage, or sometimes even when I was upside down in the pole, which is obviously great. Yeah. But then it's like a lot of the rest of that shift, because I do have such a trauma response to it. And now it's like not only the trauma response from the time that I almost died in the smoky room when I was a teenager, but now it's also a trauma response compounded by how much that situation was being abused for so many years when I was working with those two DJs that were, you know, pretty much abusing that situation. You know, to get money out of me and just mess with me, it seemed like. So now I have that built in to like all of those years of that happening. Me being sick and not really being able to make any money for myself here, and just feeling like such a loser and a chump and a pansy and just taken advantage of, and kind of like an extortion kind of situation, honestly. So that was going on with those DJs for so many years. while they had still been working here up until, you know, just the past couple of years or past few years, I guess. But so now I have that built in to add on to that kind of like PTSD, kind of like trauma response to that smoke stuff. So yeah, other times when it was a different manager here for the shift, or if it was like the DJ that seemed to be putting it on, I would usually ask them to pause it, but that didn't really have the best results anyways. So most of the rest of the shift, I would kind of just try to go hide somewhere in the club, like where I didn't really have to notice it as much, like whatever area of the club I could find that was the least freezing cold, and you know, just try to work on my YouTube, work on my notes, just try to organize stuff. So, you know, just still not really feeling able to kind of like work the room or try to really actually work all that much here, like trying to like, you know, talk to guys or make money or anything like that. Anyway, yeah, it's been a long, arduous, I think that's a word, right? Kind of journey for me with that stuff. I definitely do feel like it's really had a negative impact on me health-wise, psychologically, and then yeah, even with me trying to make money here, for a while I haven't even really treated this like a job, you know, for various different reasons. But that being a big part of, you know, one of those big reasons. I really just don't want to be around that smoke stuff. A lot of the guys here at the club, I mean, just guys in general or people in general, I usually just try to avoid. I'm like the worst stripper ever. Every single day, I'm like, how and why did I let myself fall into this weird situation that I have been in for such a while? You know, but honestly, I really can't do any other job, I don't think. Like, I've had lots of other jobs, but I haven't really been able to hold any of those down for very long because I just have so many issues, so many health issues, and just issues in general, honestly. Like, I wish I could figure out like how to try to get some kind of guidance or help or support, but at the same time, I don't trust people. I don't trust anyone or anything. So yeah, like I would never want to go to a doctor or talk to any like professional because I just don't trust anyone or anything. I've always felt like everyone and everything is so against me, but I really don't. I'm trying to work on that still. Like it's something I'm probably always going to have to just try to keep working on and working at. Anyway, so last night the smoke was back on, and it was my favorite manager working here last night. So a lot of times normally I would try to just ask him to maybe pause it or shut it off, but I didn't do that last night. I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything to him. I didn't say anything to the DJ. I just didn't say anything, didn't really do anything about it other than, again, try to go find an area that I could go off by myself and just do my own thing, like hide and work on my YouTube and stuff. Because yeah, my favorite manager is going to be leaving in a couple of months. So, you know, I'm just trying to get over it. You know, I'm just trying to build up a tolerance, and my goal with that is to build up enough of a tolerance that it becomes almost like kind of an immunity to it. And honestly, I don't want to jinx it. I feel fine today. I don't have a headache. I don't feel that congested. But a lot of times I do. So it's really weird because they were using it a lot last night. And I mean, I haven't had nosebleeds today. I did have a nosebleed last week at the gym, but oh well. Just shove a tampon up there. I was also on my period at that time, so hey, here's a tampon. But, so yeah, I mean, like they were using it a lot last night, and you know, there's times because I do try to see both sides to things like that. I'm a Scorpio, but I have Libra rising. So Libra rising is a lot of times like how you project yourself to the world or how people see you, or it can influence your personality a lot too, they say. So Libra rising, Libra is like, they tend to see both sides of things and try to like keep an open mind, like seeing different points of view. So I feel like I'm pretty good about that kind of thing. So like with the smoke stuff, I do try to consider like, oh, like why they say they use it. Like it makes the lights look good and it adds that special effect kind of thing. And I've also thought, you know, in the past, it's crossed my mind, like, especially back in the day, like up until just very recently, like today, I don't feel like I have symptoms from the smoke, but all up until like today, I have had really bad reactions and symptoms and like allergies to that smoke stuff. So in the past, I've kind of thought like, should I try to talk to a lawyer? I actually did talk to a lawyer a few years ago. I've talked to a lawyer about this. I've talked to OSHA. Talking to OSHA and talking to a lawyer, that was many, many years ago, more towards like 2020, when the club had been closed for a while for COVID. So it's been quite a while since I've, you know, looked into that kind of stuff. But it has crossed my mind in the past, like, oh, like, could this or should this become a lawsuit possibly? But then at the same time, I think, well, you know, the club could very well just turn that back at me. Like, you know, if I'm asking them not to use it at a certain time, and they could just be like, well, that could affect business, that could affect like the crowd becoming as engaged in the show or like wanting to spend money, like we're putting that on to try to like make a show here at the club, and if a dancer is putting up a fuss where they don't want it to be used, that can be affecting how well a shift goes, or kind of bringing down the vibe for the shift to where it's not as much of a strip club kind of exciting kind of theatrical kind of vibe. So I can see both sides of that. And so I've thought before, like this would also add to my anxiety with the situation where, say there was a shift where I had asked them to pause it and shut it off or whatever. Lately, I'm just trying to like be careful with my words and say pause rather than ask them to shut it off. But in the past, I had asked my manager in the past to shut it off a few times, and he did. So, but then I would get really anxious. Like if it was off and it was off because I had asked them to put it off, I would be like say it was like a slower night and there were a few people in the crowd or a few people at the stage, but they weren't tipping or whatever. I'm used to them not tipping when I'm on stage, but I'm talking about if there was other dancers on stage not being tipped. I'd kind of be thinking like, or like worrying like, oh no, like what if it's because the smoke's not on and they're not being drugged into doing so. No, I'm just kidding. But like, you know, like what if the smoke not being on and having the smoke shut off is like what if it is affecting the crowd, like not being as into the show or like not tipping other dancers or just not getting as into it, you know, like not being as interested. What if it is bringing down the vibe of the shift in the club and stuff in those moments? So that would always really add to my anxiety with this issue, because I would be so anxious about them putting it on and me getting sick, but I'd also be so anxious even with it off, because it's like, especially if it was like a slower night, which I'm usually doing the slower shifts. So even with it off, I have that anxiety like, oh no, like people aren't tipping the stage right now. Again, I'm used to that when I'm on stage, but if other dancers are on stage not getting tipped and I'm just watching from the crowd, or I'm just seeing this from somewhere else in the club, I'd be like, oh my gosh, is this because the smoke's not on? Is this because, it's like bringing down the vibe of the shift and the club and stuff? So I would also have that anxiety as well. And like, oh no, it's all my fault. And so this has really been a big, big issue for me, you know? Um, just so many anxiety, like coming from so many different directions with this, But again, I'm normally the kind of person that tries to tough things out and just see the silver lining or do whatever I can to try to get through stuff. But up until like pretty much today, I had all of these really bad symptoms, like nosebleeds. I'd have my nose dripping, just congestion, rashes, I think possibly hair loss as well. Again, I don't really know with the hair loss as much if that could be other things, but I've definitely had symptoms and I've definitely felt very sick from this stuff before, like almost all the time up until today. So, but I was going to say that too, like with last night, towards the end of last night, it was again very, very slow, but the smoke at that point was still on and it had been on for a while. So towards the end of last night, the smoke had been on and running very, like a lot, running at a very high level. Like a lot of it was pumping out into the air, just like nonstop. They'd had it on for hours and hours and hours at that point, from like earlier on into the night shift for the entire rest of the night, the entire rest of the shift until closing time. And again, I was kind of just, I think that night I was in the VIP lounge. I was in some area, either the VIP lounge or the kitchen. I was kind of just trying to be behind the scenes, trying to stay away from that stuff as best I could and just ignore it, not have to be in the area where I could where I'd have to look at it and see it or breathe it in as much. So for a while, I was kind of behind the scenes. There were quite a few other dancers on rotation, like on stage, until it was my turn again. So I was just like working on my notes, working on my YouTube like I normally would be, like behind the scenes. And then when it was my turn to be called on stage again, I, went back downstairs, went on stage, but it was so slow. And there was like nobody. And then, when that happened towards the end of the night, it's like there was just nobody there for customers. And I was just thinking, like, clearly this is not just an issue with the smoke, like affecting how busy or not the club is going to be, or how much people are at the club are spending money or being interested in the show or not. Because again, that smoke at that point had already been running nonstop for many, many, many hours. And even with that going like nonstop for so many hours, the smoke stuff, there was still nobody there at the club. It was still so, so slow. And at that point, like for maybe the last hour and a half of the shift towards the end of the night, like that, there were just no customers and really no other dancers. Because there were no customers, pretty much all the other dancers were leaving as well. So the only dancers that were going on stage when their name was being called, like the other dancers that were being called on stage, this will happen a lot, they just won't go when it's not busy or when they don't feel like it. So out of the handful of other dancers that were still there on shift with me, it was just me and one other dancer that were still going on stage when our names were being called towards the end of the night like that. And I was just kind of thinking, like, they left that smoke just pumping out nonstop at a very high level all up until it was still going after we had closed, like after the end of the shift, where like the music was off, like we were closed. It was after closing time. They still had that smoke running. So, but it's like with just me and one other dancer, actually towards the very end, that one other dancer besides myself that was still going on stage, at that point, even she had left. So it was literally just me yet again on stage for a lot of time towards the end of the night. And they still had the smoke going. And you would think like, all right, clearly the smoke isn't helping the situation with the crowd or the customers at that point, and hadn't seemed to be helping with that for a while for that shift at that point already. So all the other dancers are pretty much already gone or leaving or not going on stage anymore. It's the very end of the night. We know that this one dancer, Tinka, that's covering the stage for us all this time, we know that she's, you know, not a huge fan of the smoke stuff and she's really allergic to it. Maybe since it's the very end of the night and she's the only dancer willing to still go on stage, and pretty much the only dancer even here at the club on shift anymore, maybe we can just shut the smoke off now. It's been going for hours and hours. It's the end of the night. The air is pretty much already fully saturated with this stuff. You know, like you would think that at that point, maybe just shut it off because, again, it's the end of the shift. But they didn't, you know, because I don't know why. They just, because they're evil. So, you know, so it's like, it's just that kind of vibe a lot of times where it's like, I really just don't get it. And it does end up feeling like people are kind of against me or just really don't like me, really just... I don't want to think or feel that way. I try really hard not to. Like, don't take it personally. You know, don't take it too personal. Don't take it personal at all. It's a strip club. You know what I mean? Just, it is what it is. Just do what you got to do and get out of there in one piece as safely as you can. But again, that is kind of a weird thing to me, kind of a weird vibe. Like, I'm the only one willing to go on stage still. I'm pretty much the only dancer even on shift at all at that point. And definitely still the only one going on stage. Like, it's the very end of the night. Just shut it off at that point. Like, but yeah, again, even after the music was off, we were officially closed after closing time, that thing's still pumping out the smoke. So, but it was weird. Yeah, because I do feel okay today. So I don't know if maybe like they changed the formula or something's different. Because normally I would be feeling very, very, very sick today. And I don't want to jinx it, but I don't have a headache. I'm not stuffed up. I'm a little stuffed up, but not nearly as bad. Like, so it's almost like, I don't know, it's really weird. I want to think it's good, right? It's got to be good. I don't want to jinx it. Like, it's almost like too good to be true. It's kind of like, you know, with Superman and like the kryptonite. Superman, I don't even know what kryptonite is. It's some kind of green thing that Superman's allergic to. I meant to Google this last night, but I forgot. Again, I always forget things. But so like, isn't kryptonite Superman's like weakness? Or it's almost like, if I'm right, if that's what I'm remembering correctly, or it's almost like if Superman has like this allergy or like this weakness to kryptonite for so long and so long and so long, and then all of a sudden one day out of the blue or just some magical way, like Superman is able to immunize, like reverse that weakness or that allergy, or that he's able to turn kryptonite into his strength instead. He's able to flip that shiz around on his antagonist. I don't want to say enemies, but like, imagine, let's just say we did want to use the word enemies, okay, just for fun. I try not to use that word. I try to just say antagonist instead, because I don't want to have enemies. Like, if I did, it would be them seeing me as the enemy, not me seeing them that way. Because again, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to have enemies. I don't want to harbor hatred or resentment towards anybody else. I just don't like to be like that. But if people are going to be like that towards me, or seem like they are, or just give me a difficult time, which, you know, has been the case for a lot of my time here on planet Earth, then, you know, so be it. I mean, so if we are going to use that word, it's kind of like, say your enemies have like this weapon against you that they've had for so long, and they know it's a weakness. It's a weapon used, it's weaponized against you, and it's really kicking your ass like for years and years and years. And then all of a sudden one day you're immune to that weapon that they have. I don't know, something happens, you ain't got your weapon no more. They ain't got the weapon no more. You know what I mean? Like, they still have it, but if I'm immune to it, then what are they going to do? Like, it's too good to be true, right? Like, I know I'm probably going to be feeling so sick later or so sick tomorrow, but I feel fine right now. And that's a good feeling, because yeah, they've pretty much been using this as a weapon against me, it feels like, for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. And I don't know if something magic just kind of happened where the formula changed or I changed. Something happened where it's like, oh, it doesn't work anymore. Or like, like, what are they going to do now? Or they'll find something. Trust me, they'll figure something out. They'll just go back to the old version. Even if they do, I don't care what they do. I will bleed from the nose all over the stage if I have to. I will bleed on people if I have to. Nosebleeds. If I have a headache, I'll take Tylenol. Or I just won't. I'll just tough it out. I don't care what they do. It's not gonna work. It's been working for them for too long, and now that's over, and now I could possibly go back to doing Friday and Saturday night shifts like I should be, because even at my age, I do have the talent and the skills for that. This could be definitely a game changer. It had been a game changer used against me for so long, and now I want to think I have done it. I want to think, again, I don't want to jinx it, but I don't care what. I will force this to be the case. I am going to be immune to that stuff. I'm not allergic anymore. I'm immune. I've built up not just a tolerance, I've built up an immunity. And that's such a nice feeling. Watch, I'm going to come on tomorrow and be like bleeding out the nose and the eyes and be like, guys, I'm so sick. But I feel fine right now. I feel great. And I feel that much better knowing that I feel like I'm defeating them finally. Like, I can breathe clearly and just breathe a sigh of relief. And it's just, oh, and you know what? Another big issue I had for so long is it was making the pole more slippery. But lately, like last night, if anything, it was making the pole less slippery. Something's happening, something good, I think. I don't want to jinx it. Nothing good ever happens to me, but I will force it so. I will force it so and force it so and force it so. And I don't care what I have to do. I mean, I do, but I will find ways, definitely. And maybe this could be such a game changer that I could really just adjust my attitude so much. Like, I remember growing up as a kid, my younger brother's dad, who raised me, would always tell me a lot of times, like, that I had to adjust my attitude. Like, when I was being kind of bratty, he's like, you need an attitude adjustment. And maybe that's right. I do need an attitude adjustment, and I will do that. I will adjust my attitude, and this could be such a game changer for me here at the club. Like, for so long, largely because of this previous issue, I hadn't really even felt able to treat this as a job, as a way to try to make money. But now it's like I could just change my outlook and change my attitude here so much to where, like, really push myself. I've already been pushing myself, but I could push myself even more. Like, yeah, maybe doing the weekend nights, like Friday and Saturday nights, where I actually might have a chance to actually make money finally after all these years, and not just have to give it away to these evil DJs that used to work here. Or just maybe I finally could make money here, or finally could treat it like a job. I'll push myself maybe to actually talk to customers and not just like hide in the back. Or I don't know. I really want to just try to be positive, like, stay positive, be positive, and just do whatever I can to just try to really, if this is going to actually be okay for me now, if I can force that, so if I feel okay right now, if I can keep feeling okay, if the pole's actually maybe not going to be as slippery as much anymore, or I don't know, if I can just, whatever I can do, like, I just want so much to have hope and to just finally be able to make this work for me, because I do love to dance. And such a big crushing thing about that, though, has been not being able to make money this way. Like, to have a passion and a hobby that I want to be a job. Well, I didn't want it to be a job for a while because of many reasons, and that being a big one of them. But it's like, again, if I could change my outlook, change my attitude, just try to see the positive in whatever guy comes in here, and just try to talk to them, like, try whatever I can try to do. Like, yeah, maybe work the busier nights, like Friday and Saturdays, work day shifts from time to time to build up credits in my account, whatever I can do. maybe I could really just turn stuff around for myself and start treating this like a job, like start treating this like it actually does have potential and possibility, like it should, like you would want to think that it could and should. um I really hope so, you know, because yeah, this has been holding me back, this issue that I had with this stuff for so long, so many years, years and years and years, like almost 10 years. Because they first installed that smoke machine, the first smoke machine, the first version that they had here, I remember they installed it 2017. That's almost 10 years. So this has been going on for a very long time for me. And it was such a complete game changer where it completely it felt like it had completely destroyed my ability to, yeah, treat this like a job and actually like make money or have hope or have a decent kind of quality of life or lifestyle. You know, it's just been me against the grain with this stuff for so many years. And it's like, what if after all this time, after all that time and all this time, what if I do finally have an immunity? What if I do, I've built it up, I'm immune now. What if, maybe not, but what if I do? What if that is the case? What if that could be the case? What if it is? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too hopeful and too positive and like kind of naive. Like maybe I'll go in tonight, maybe I'll go back in the club tonight for tonight's shift and like have a full-blown panic attack or get really sick, or, but I don't even care at this point. I will do whatever I have to do. I'll talk myself down. I'll try to talk to guys here. If I have a nosebleed, I'll put a tampon up my nose, or 2 tampons if that's what it takes. I'll do whatever I need to do because, yeah, I just don't want to let them win. And I feel like they had been winning for so long, and that's such a terrible feeling, but I'm the kind of person where I really do refuse to give up. And maybe it's gonna get better now. Maybe I could actually just maybe I did it. Maybe I did do it. Maybe my tolerance has become an immunity until they change the formula. Now they're going to go back to the old form. But again, I don't even care if they do, because I'll still just fight through it. Like I was just saying, I'll put tampons in my nose if I have to. I will do whatever it takes. They're not going to win. Again, they're not enemies or anything, but you know, they've made my experience here at the club very difficult for sure. A lot of people that have worked here, it seems. You know what? No, I love them all. We're all just one big happy family. And again, I don't want to have bad feelings or animosity towards anyone. This is mostly a personal struggle. And it's, you know, it was an allergy. I was just very allergic for a very long time. And now maybe it's just gonna get better now a bit. Like maybe, and I haven't even seen a squirrel today, you guys. I was hoping to, but I haven't even seen one. But I'm really just gonna try to stay hopeful and stay strong. And I'm breathing okay right now. I'm not congested. Like that stuff was going a lot last night, like a lot. I was on stage for a lot of it, and I didn't even have to be, but I still was, because I love to be up there. And yeah, I'm tired of letting this hold me back. I'm tired of letting this just affect me in so many negative ways. So going forward, I'm just really gonna try to keep turning this around for myself, you know, and I just want so badly to be a success story and to triumph over all of this crap, you know. I'm so determined to do that. Well, I'll try to keep you guys posted and keep you guys updated. So yeah, I'll be honest, this paper that I have here, I don't think I'm gonna, yet again, I don't think I'm gonna get into this today. I didn't think, because I didn't even have notes for talking about that shift, but last night, I didn't think that was gonna take this long, because I started this video at 3:30 on the dot and it's 4:35, so that's definitely over an hour. I think I'm going to try to cap myself at around an hour going forward with these videos, with these streams. Unless, another silver lining, so unless one of the shorter ones, like say this video doesn't post properly, then, because I've kind of just assumed lately that the length of my videos might have been an issue, like as to why so many of my streams before hadn't posted properly. I was like, well, maybe they're just too long. So maybe if I try to shorten them, maybe that will help. And so far that seemed to be the case, but this will be another experiment. I'm going to try to end this stream in a few minutes, so it'll still be around an hour. And if there's issues with this one, then that will obviously suck. But then I can just be like, oh, so clearly the length isn't the issue. So going forward, I can just keep rambling and rambling and yapping and not have to worry about how long my videos are. Which does still kind of suck, because then when those don't post properly, it's just more of my time wasted. So again, I really can't seem to win with anything, but I'm gonna keep trying to. That's just part of the fun of it all, you know? Just keep on trying and trying and trying and trying. Anyway. It's after 4:30 and it's still light out. That's nice. That's another nice thing. I'm going to end this stream now. I apologize. There's still a bunch of stuff on these pages, and there's something in particular that I had been like wanting to mention for quite a few times now. But when I went into the club almost 40 minutes ago at 4 o'clock to sign in, I did shut my car off to go do that. So I haven't had the heat on in my car for almost 40 minutes now. And it is very, very cold today. It was very, very cold last night. It's going to be very, very cold again tonight. And today it's been very cold. So I'm freezing right now. And I'm really scared to go into the club and go into the dressing room, because the dressing room where my locker is, it was okay yesterday, but usually it's freezing in there. So I'm freezing right now. I'm really anxious to go in there. But I did get some groceries earlier today. Oh, which reminds me, because yeah, I'm pretty much gonna have to go in my locker to put my groceries in there, because these groceries, I don't want to have them freeze in my car. When I was at the grocery store earlier, I was about to sign out or check out. I was at the checkout at exactly 3 o'clock. I literally saw the register in front of me and it said 3 o'clock on the dot when I was trying to check out the first time. So the first time I checked out at 3 o'clock, I got these 2 Built bars. So I was thinking that maybe I could do a protein bar review with these, either maybe later tonight or sometime tomorrow. I have not tried either one of these flavors. The blue one is cookies and cream, and the green one is mint. It says mint chip, but I'm just gonna say mint chocolate chip because I'm assuming that's what they meant. Anyway, ow. So I'm excited to try these. I haven't tried either one of these flavors yet, like I just said, but I'm really excited about them. Oh, and so then when I was at the checkout the first time I got the Built bars and I got a water and I got some carrots. And then, but I saw this old lady behind me had a bag of apples, and I hadn't had apples in so long, other than in my oatmeal, like already built into the oatmeal. I haven't had actual apples by themselves in so long. So I was like, crap. And at that store, the apples are a better price than the other store that I go to. So I was like, crap, I have to go check for the apples. So I did. So I got apples. Yay, apples. And I also got, I haven't had one of these in a very long time, but I've always really liked these naked drinks. And this looks like a new flavor for me too. It's called pineapple orange. Oh, and it's a protein smoothie too. Ooh, I didn't even really notice the protein part, but now I'm noticing, and now I'm excited about that. Even more excited. It's pineapple orange smoothie, and it looks, yeah, it looks new. I haven't tried this one before. So I like to do drink reviews for sometimes, but I haven't done one for a while. So maybe later tonight at the club, depending on how things go, maybe I could do a drink review for that smoothie, or maybe a protein bar review for one of those Built bars. We'll see. Possibly. Yes, possibly. So that could be fun. That's something to look forward to, I'd like to think. But yes, I am going to sign off for now. It's 4:40 on the dot. I started this at 3:30 on the dot, so I'll try to do the math. Oh, now it's 4:41. I'll try to do the math in my head as best I can. It is so cold in here right now. Oh my gosh. I hope the locker room's okay today. It was so nice last night, like, to have it just not be freezing in there for a change. Yes, I will try to keep you guys posted and updated with all of this fun, exciting stuff. But until next time, hopefully I'll be able to come on tomorrow for Tinka Tuesday. And yes, hopefully soon. I hope you guys are well, and thanks for watching. In the meantime, oh gosh, I have three rubber bands on the top of my phone right now. Normally I started off with just one, and then yesterday I had two, and today I have three. I have to move the rubber bands to sign off, so this might be a, gosh, oh wow. How am I gonna do this? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh boy. There we go. It was 7 viewers, now it's down to 6. Okay, fine, goodbye. I was already saying goodbye. Oh god, it's so cold in here. My brain, oh, now it's back to 7. Hello again. It's so bad when I can see the numbers. Just imagine this with me being able to see the numbers on the top. If I do put the comments at the bottom, the live comments back on at some point in the future, I get so distracted. But actually, that reminds me too, I was thinking, I do have a couple ideas for if I'm going to do streams in the future where I leave the live comments on. It's been a while since I've done one of those, pretty much ever since I realized that it was an option to shut them off. So if I do ever go back and like just experiment with having the live comments on in the future, I want to have those kind of streams and those kind of videos be like pretty much catered, designated, designed for like a live chat kind of stream, rather than how I usually do my videos and my streams, where it's more so just meant to be me talking about stuff that I already want to talk about. So, but I have topics. I had a couple topics I was thinking about specifically for the live chats, and I forget one of them, crap, because I was going to say, like, if I were to just keep trying to stream right now, like when it's this cold, my brain is just freezing in my head. So the more I keep talking, the less sense I'm going to make. I probably already didn't make sense for most of this, as usual. But again, it's so cold that I'm just going to get less and less coherent as it continues to get colder and colder. And I continue to get colder and colder. Oh my gosh, it's so cold. One of the topics that I was thinking about having for the live chats with the comments, the live chat comments, would be talking about, like, I talk about like weather and locations a lot because I really, really hate the weather, despise the weather where I am and always have. But especially as I continue to get older and older, it's just so cold here most of the year, and any kind of progress that I try to make, like with working out for the spring and the summer, trying to get back in shape after the winter. It's just such a horrible feeling knowing that just a few months after that, it's just going to go back to being winter again. And that's just always going to be the case here. So I wonder a lot about, like, if I were to ever just take that leap, make that leap, take that risk, and for the first time go move somewhere else on my own. Where I am right now, it's very close to where I grew up and where I went to high school. It's the same state that I went to high school in. And it's actually like less than an hour away from where I went to high school. My ex and I moved up to this area after high school. So yeah, still very close to the school, still in the same state that we'd been in. My family all just like moved other places, and I've just still been here like by myself. Like, so I've moved around to like different apartments and different, like, you know, living situations, just trying to adapt as best I could, like being on my own since then. But even though I've like technically moved by myself to different apartments and stuff, I've never actually moved like, oh, excuse me. I am wearing 2 corsets right now. I've never actually moved like for real, like as far as like moving across the country or to another state or another, like a completely different area just on my own. That's something that I've never done. But I mean, I really do like, I know I complain about this club that I work at for many different reasons. But overall, I do really like this club. I feel like it's, especially for strip clubs, I feel like it's a pretty good place. For the most part, yeah, I know I complain, but for the most part, they are pretty good to me here. And just like the dancers in general, they are pretty nice and pretty good here. So, you know, and if I could switch things around here to where I was finally able to do well here and actually make money and treat this as a job, and get over this issue to my allergy to the smoke, then, you know, maybe I could finally put the heat on back in my apartment. This is my 4th winter without having the heat on there in the apartment that I've been staying at. Like, you know, I could really maybe make some positive changes, like quality of life and that kind of stuff. So maybe in that case, maybe I would want to continue to just stay here going into the future. But then also my favorite manager here at the club is going to be leaving in a couple months, and I'm not really too sure how that's going to affect how I feel working here at the club. If that's going to make as much of a difference for me as I think it will, or I really don't know yet, and I won't really probably know until it actually happens. But anyways, one of the things I was thinking about maybe doing for a live chat would be just to talk about like location, like asking people like where they're from and where they've lived before, what the weather is like where they are, or just where they've lived and like what their thoughts and opinions are about different locations that they've lived in, or where they might think is a nice place to be, a nice place to live, which places have, you know, good job opportunities, good strip clubs, good healthcare, good resources, better weather. So that's a big topic that I think I might want to like dedicate an actual specific stream, like live chat for, with the live comments on. Just because I really want to hear what other people might have to say about that kind of stuff. And I did have another idea as far as a topic to have for a stream with live chats comments on. However, I just can't remember what it is right now. I think partly because of how cold it is right now. So with that being said, I am going to end this stream for today for now and go into the club and try to find a somewhat decently warm area in the club if I can do that. Just try to go find all the space heaters that I can find in there. You know, and get the ball rolling for my shift for today and tonight. Yay. But again, thank you guys for watching for today, and I hope you guys are well out there, and I look forward to coming on again soon. So, yeah. Until next time, peace out for now.